Thanks for tuning in to the Diaphragm Dynasty. I'm back with another comparison topic. Two artists I was thinking about that made their names in the mid to late 90s, early 2000 period. Two artists that defined a lifetime. I know definitely for me growing up, music that'll stick with me forever. Soundtrack still in life, if you will. These artists are some of the most underrated artists that we have in R&B. These artists that if you look back on time, you couldn't tell the story of R&B without them in some aspects. And these two artists I'm talking about is Case and Joe Thomas. Now, these artists started off around the same age, and they started off in around 1992 when they were getting, their names out there as far as artists goes. And I was thinking about who had the better hits and the better moments as far as an artist goes for these two artists. Because we know Case was very underrated and Joe was as well. But both of these artists made moments, but who made the best hits and the best moments? So it's a totality of just of a feel in their accolades, so to speak. But I feel these artists should have had bigger names, but they were very traditional R&B that didn't have a lot of pop hit crossover to them. And I always talk about that pop crossover because it's important because you have to be able to get other genres and you have to get other ethnicities and cultures involved. And when you don't do that, you kind of get stuck in your region. And especially with for minorities, because we're a minority, so it's only 12% of the population. So you want to try to get or you're not going to be able to reach that other, 70%. It's going to be very difficult for you to get that that pop crossover, which is something that everyone doesn't subscribe or um, aspire to. But it's something that, as an artist, if you want to get more popularity and you want to get more eyes on you, you have to find a way to creep into those markets. And unfortunately, these artists really didn't do that as much. But nevertheless, they still gave us great hits, had great voices, great talent, great skill sets. So these two having great moments. I'm going to compare those two moments. Now, Case has had major moments in the sense of songs. So when you think about Touch Me, Tease Me from the Nutty Professor soundtrack with Foxy Brown, one of the best female rappers we have, which I have to cover eventually on an Urban Scope podcast, Foxy Brown's ability to rap very well on the song with Case and the soundtrack, which brings in people even more because it's tied to a movie. That's one of the biggest moments that Case had. Now he's had songs like "Missing You," which is similar to Aaron Hall's "Missing You." It was one of those great "Missing You" songs. He had "Faded Pictures" with Joe, which they had a moment together on, and then he had a song called "Happily Ever After," which was one of those songs I remember listening to as a kid, thinking it's a beautiful song. Didn't understand the song to now and in more context, but these are the moments that Case has provided for us as fans and listeners. Now, Joe, on the other hand, he's had some great songs as well. Now, you think about all the things Your Man Won't Do, which is a Dirty Mac and anthem, which, I'm pretty sure back in his day, all the Dirty Mackers used this song to get other people's women's. So Joe created that type of soundtrack for the Dirty Mackers. But in the reverse, he's had Don't Want to Be a Player Anymore, which was a major hit. And then I remember Big Pun had a song like that too, which he was on the hook for the Fat Joe's Don't Want to Be a Player, which is a huge moment in R&B and for rap as well. So he kind of intermingles between the two worlds with that Don't Want to Be a Player with Big Pun. Rest in peace to Big Pun, one of the best lyricists that hip hop has seen. Joe also had I Want to Know, which was a major hit, a song that for the lovers, for the true traditional R&B heads, that song was definitely in that realm and took you to that place. So just to look on the accolade side, Joe has two gold albums, one platinum album, and one album that went 3 times platinum. So he has a nice little discography there. Case only has 2 gold albums, which is still major. Going gold is difficult, especially in this era. But he has two of the Case has 2 gold albums, and then Case has 7 albums, but Joe has 13 albums, so he's definitely been more active in music and more active in R&B for sure. But it's very close matchup, but I think Joe is more commercially successful and had the bigger moments, but I think Case has the better traditional R&B hits that were underrated. But I do give the nod to Joe because I didn't even mention one other moment that Joe created for the culture and for R&B in a sense is he did the theme song for the Power soundtrack. Now, this is the TV series that is executive produced by 50 Cent. Um, a lot of people who like this show, that theme song we actually listen to the theme song all the way through. Most of the time, you skip the theme song after a couple of times because you get kind of old. But this song never really got old. Sometimes, even when I work out, I listen to this song just because the song is just that powerful of a song. And Joe helped bring this song to life alongside 50 Cent rapping, of course. Um, but I think overall, Case did have the better song with the Touch Me, Tease Me song. That song never gets old. And I believe it came out in 95, 96, and this defined an era, the golden era for me in the 90s when everybody was putting out good music, movies, the economy was good, everything was good in the 90s. But then after that, it just started to take a precipitous drop. But Joe Case definitely had that best song with Touch Me, Tease Me with Foxy Brown. But I have to go with Joe for the sheer productivity and the closeness of their catalogs. Well, the big gap in their catalogs because Joe has more than half the albums that Case has, and he just been more productive and made a lot of hits that equal past what Case could have. Now, both of these artists contribute a lot to the genre, and both are very underrated. But just nitpicking, I would pick Joe in this sense. But tell me, who do you think is a better artist between Joe and Case? Until next time, I'll see you next time.